Alright, yo, welcome to my channel. My name is Jamal. I really enjoy tech and I am going to be doing some reviews because of that joy. So let's get into the video.
Con.
Alright, so this is why I switched from iPhone to the phone that was deemed the biggest disappointment of 2019. So the first thing we're going to get into is the cons. And one of the first cons of this phone, I know it's been highly talked about from just about anybody who reviewed this phone or talked about this phone, is the battery life. Now the battery life is not the best thing on the Pixel 4 just because one, Google decided to give it a smaller battery compared to like other flagship phones. So therefore, obviously with the smaller battery, and I'm sure you know that it has a 90 hertz screen. Because it has a 90 hertz screen and a small battery, that's going to equal not the best battery life. But I will say that this is not that big of a con, because for me personally, I get about 5 hours of screen on time on the regular daily usage of the phone, and I play a bit of games. I do some email check-in, I browse the internet, watch YouTube videos, whatever it is. I do all of that on my phone, and it lasts about 5 hours of screen on time. And this is with 90 hertz being forced. So if you don't know, you can toggle 90 hertz to be forced, so it's on at all times when you're using the phone. And I still get about 5 hours of screen on time. So yeah, that's the battery. Very controversial, but for me, it's not that bad. Like, in all honesty, I enjoyed using it, and like I haven't really had a problem with battery life. But I can understand people who need a lot of battery, that's a big issue. So yeah, battery is the first con, but I would say it's a very slight con. It's not that serious. The next con I would say is the storage capacity. So now Google, they also limited their phone in another way by giving it just very small amounts of storage compared to the competitors. So as you know, the base model is only 64 gigs, and then the highest you can get is 28 gigs, which is not the best compared to other phones. Like, it's not a lot of storage for today's people, but for me, that's plenty. I don't even fill up to 64 gigs, so that is not that big of an issue for me as well. The next con on this phone is the motion sense. So like, usually when phones come out, new devices, there's features that they add to try to sell it that aren't that necessary. And for the Pixel 4, this is the motion sense. Now the motion sense is something that Google added in the phone, and they marketed it, and they're like, it's this cool feature and all these different things. But in reality, you can only use it for like 2 or 3 things. So those 2 or 3 things include switching your song or pausing your song when you're listening to music on your phone and it's face up on a table, or when your phone is on a desk and you reach to grab it, your phone will automatically turn on, so that by the time you pick it up, it will unlock right away and it's ready to be used. So that's like, it's not that useful, and then half the time the swiping feature for music doesn't even work that well. So that is a con in itself, because it takes up battery power to even just enable it. And yeah, like, it just increases the phone's price more than it needs to be. So that is a con. So the next con for this phone is this is just simple. Like, there's no screen recording option. I think that's pretty silly, especially in 2019 when it came out. Like, come on, bro. Like, that's just a standard. Every phone can screen record natively nowadays. The next con is the screenshotting. So it's very clunky to take a screenshot. You have to hold the power button, and then it will show up and give you a little menu. It has like power options and stuff like that, and you can choose the screenshot. I think that's very slow. I know that a lot of phones, their screenshotting function is not even that fast anyways, but I think that can be improved. It's not that bad. Like, this is a very small con, like, it's very nitpicky, but I think, yeah, that's a small thing that I would change about the phone. And now the next con for me, or just in general, this is something that people also talked about, is the screen. Now the screen is not that bright compared to other phones. Like, when you have an iPhone 10 or 11 Pro, whatever, like, the newer iPhones can generally shine bright outside so that you can see the screen when you're using it in general usage. But the Pixel 4 is not that bright outside. That's unfortunate. But to my usage, I've been using it for like half a year now, almost, or not half a year, but like, yeah, like a good amount of time, and it's been pretty good. Like, I haven't really had that issue. Like, I'll turn on my screen to max when I really need to, and yeah, turn it back down when I'm in shaded areas. It's not that big of an issue, but it is something that you should know when you get this phone, or if you're thinking of getting this phone. So yeah, that's another con. And last but not least, The last con I would say is the lack of customization. Now this phone is an Android phone, but to my surprise, there's not that much customization when it comes to theme. And like, for example, when you have a Samsung phone, like there's so much different themes and third-party themes that you can get for your phone, but whereas Pixel phones, they only have like a few small options that Google has given and has made themselves. So that's a con in itself, because Android is supposed to be open stock where you can do whatever you want, customize your phone how you want, and that's like the kind of thing that it had over iPhone. And to see a lack of customization is kind of disappointing, but it's not that bad in reality, but it is something to take note of when you're considering this phone versus other Android phones. So yeah, those are the cons of this phone. So now I'm gonna get into the pros. So let's get into it. All right, so now let's get into the pros. So the first pro that I want to talk about is the camera. Now obviously, like I mentioned before, the Pixels are known for their great cameras, but this camera, like I think it's better. Like a lot of people have been saying that like this is the same as the Pixel 3 camera, or it's just a tiny bit better, but I think this is probably the best camera on the market in terms of mobile photography. I think this camera is pretty good, especially for just a point and shoot camera. Like you just take it out of your pocket, take a shot. I think it's very low maintenance, and the technology that Google puts into their cameras for their phones is just really well done. So yeah, the camera is the number one pro. The second pro for this phone is the screen. Now I know the screen is not that bright compared to its competitors outside, but this screen is really nice. It's just really nice, like compared to any phone I've ever had, even including my iPhone or my iPhones, because I've been an iPhone guy for a while now. The screen is just really nice, and then the 90 hertz on top of that, it feels very snappy, very smooth, just so good. I really enjoy the screen, so yeah, the screen's a plus. The next pro that I have for this phone is the build quality. Now I know it's very controversial as well for this phone, just because it looks similar to iPhones, and in fact I had the white iPhone XR before this, and it looks very similar. Like when I got this Pixel 4, a lot of people couldn't even tell the difference. They thought I still had an iPhone. Just looking at my phone at a glance, they couldn't really see that it was a different phone. So yeah, I know the design is controversial in that sense, that it looks like iPhones, but I think it's really well done. The nice black edges, even the camera bump. I think the camera bump is one of the best camera bumps on a smartphone till this day. I think I like that nice square design, the circles inside. I think it's well done and enjoyable. The back is nice, matte finish, and not too many fingerprints on it. I think it's a good phone design in my opinion. And the next pro is obviously the OS. Now it's stock Android, not a lot needs to be said about it. It's just very smooth, very snappy. There's not a lot of like random things thrown into by the phone company, but it's just straight up Android phone. Use it's very efficient and good. So stock OS, that is a plus. The next pro is the ambient pixel music feature, which basically when music is playing around you, if you have it enabled, it will pick up the song that's playing near the phone, and then it will tell you what that song is, and you can actually go back and check the history of songs that your phone has heard. So if your phone is in your pocket, you're walking downtown in your city or your town or whatever it is, and there's music that happens to play while you're walking outside or you're chilling with friends in a restaurant, your phone will actually pick that up and it will tell you, oh, this song is playing. For example, a song by Kanye West or whatever it is playing, and then it will show you that, and then you can go back and check it later. So you can kind of create like a list of like songs that you heard and maybe want to listen to later on. So I think that's a really cool feature and very underrated, very under talked about. And yeah, so that's a good feature. That's another pro. So the next pro is obviously the Google Assistant. Turn on the lights. Open Google Maps. Open Google Chrome. What's the weather today? Now I know that other Android phones can also use the Google Assistant, but the Pixel 4 has it's just another level of it. It's more baked into the system, it's built in, and it's apparently more smarter. I'm not sure how true that is, but it's been working really well, especially with the squeeze function on the side, where if you squeeze, it will activate the Google Assistant and you can just tell it to do things or ask it questions without having to say the magic words. You know what they are. I'm not going to say it because I respect y'all. And yeah, the Google Assistant is really well done on the Pixel 4. And the next pro is the Face Unlock. yeah, I know I was talking about the motion sense and saying that's a con, but the face unlock is actually really well done on this phone. I think it's one of the best. It's the best ever of any phone that I've had, and it's just very fast, very snappy. You pick it up, it goes on and unlocks. You can set it to skip the lock screen, so you don't have to swipe up. So when you look at the phone, bam, you're already in the phone, you're ready to use it. It's one of the best face unlocks, and then when it combines with the motion sense where it turns on when you're picking it up, I think that's very cool and very fast. Do note though that if you're using the motion sense and you're using it to unlock and stuff like that, it can unlock a lot by accident at times. That happens to me pretty often actually, but it's not a problem because when it unlocks, I'm usually using it or I'm around so I can see. But just note that it can unlock by accident a lot. So yeah, that's it. Alright, so to conclude, this phone is a really good phone and I'm very satisfied with my experience using it, and it will continue to be my main driver until maybe the Pixel 5 or whatever it is, or if iPhone decides to switch it up a little bit. But I'm very satisfied with this phone, and I will say that I agree that I think it's a bit expensive for what you're getting from the phone compared to competitors, and I think that Google should have reduced the price. Like I got mine for like 700 Canadian, and it's the 128 gig model, so it's above $1,000. So I got it at a good discount. But if you're buying this phone full price, I would say that it's definitely not worth a full price for sure. But definitely if you can get it secondhand or off somebody or whatever it is at a discounted price, this phone is definitely worth it over a lot of other phones. Like I could have even gotten a OnePlus phone within that price range, but I think that this Pixel phone just does a lot of things that I need to do really well. And yeah, like every phone, I believe every phone does generally everything really well nowadays in this day and age in 2020. So it all comes down to just finding a phone that does what you want it to do well enough for you and in specific ways that you would really enjoy. So it comes down to personal preference and knowing yourself and like how you interact with your technology. So yeah, I think it's not the best phone, but it is a really great phone and it fits all of my needs. So hopefully this was very useful for you, especially with all the backlash that this phone got. Hopefully this could change your perspective or open your eyes to the great phone that it actually is. So yeah, that's the Pixel 4 review. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, then leave a like. And if you did not, then I'm sorry, bro. Pixel for life. You already know what it is.